Hey there, friends and enemies. JoPaWrites here once again, and today I have another Destiny 2 video for you guys. This one, my tier list of all the weapons released since Witch Queen has launched. Now, if you enjoyed the video, hit that like button, make sure to subscribe to the channel. Helps me out tremendously, shows you want to see more content like this. I throw up Destiny 2 videos on the channel pretty much every day, so definitely check them out if you haven't already. Also, make sure you are commenting down below. Let me know what is your favorite weapon from this season so far, because I've been enjoying a lot of them, but I definitely have some that are ranked above others, and I want to hear from everybody else why you love certain weapons more than others. Anyway, let's jump into it. I'm very excited, and we're starting off with auto rifles. We've got Sweet Sorrow. This is solid B for me. Nice starter. Not a bad weapon. I love it a lot. A nice little arc energy AR, but not the best, not the worst. Especially when you compare it to something like the Crate, which is next, and is honestly a verging on, I think it's S tier. I think it's, of the primary weapons so far that I've messed around with, it's probably the top three for me. And I have a roll with Headstone that I absolutely love. It is a stasis weapon. I think it's tremendous, and I would highly recommend going after a good role for that. Subsistence and Headstone is just a unbelievable role on this bad boy. So personally, I think it's S tier. I know that's a high ranking, but that's where I'm going to keep it. Next up, we've got the Duty Bound. This is the re-released AR that's going to be in the Nightfalls. However, I don't have my hands on it from past experience. I think this is a solid AR. I know it's very good. And just from looking at the perk pool, I know it's going to be A tier. It's going to be a very good weapon that you are going to want to chase 100%. Now we've got the Herrod. This one is the worst of all the ARs for me. It feels chunky, but not in a good way. And I'm going to rank it there. And then finally, the Come to Pass. B. This is craftable, so you have a lot of options to go for the god rolls. However, for me, it just doesn't match my love like the Crate does. And so for that reason, it drops down quite a bit. And so that's just my personal opinion on the ARs. Next, we go to Pointed Inquiry. This is a scout, solid scout, not bad. I like it, especially, like I said, a lot of these are going to be boosted up higher if you can craft them, because I feel like being able to guarantee get a god roll once you have the pattern unlocked is really, really good, and I like it a lot. Unfortunately, it just doesn't stand out, especially in comparison to another scout rifle that I'm going to talk about here in a second. Not this one, though. This is the worst of all the new weapons, in my personal opinion. My least favorite. And the Persia D just doesn't do it for me. It just, for whatever reason, I've tried using it. I had a couple red rimmed weapons that I was trying to level up and get the resonance for, but it just did not do it, and I did not enjoy it. Now, here's one that I don't have a god roll, so I'm not 100% on this, but I think Aisha's Embrace is a tier. It's a full auto, fast firing scout rifle that I really enjoy that archetype. I think this one's very, very good. Bonus, it is void, so if you do use it with some of your void builds, has great synergy, especially if you don't want to use something like funnel web, because you don't want to be in close all the time. It definitely is a good idea to chase one of those. Like I said, I have a roll that's solid, and this might actually bump up to S tier if I mess around with it a little bit more. Very versatile, good in PvE as well as PvP, so I really like this one, and it's something that I'll probably be using for quite some time, especially if I can get an adept version or one with a really, really good roll. Next up, we're going to start hitting the pulse rifles. I'm going to start with Peace of Mind, because I think this one is a banger. Also A tier. I love this pulse rifle. I think pulse rifles this season are very, very good, and I definitely want to see more from them, because like I think they're solid in PvE, PvP, everywhere, and I just really enjoy them. I know a lot of the pulse rifles are going to be a lot higher than some of the other weapon types that we see here on this list. Syncopation is another one. This one's hard. I originally I had this at S or A tier because I really liked it when I first started using it. However, as I've been testing some other pulse rifles, I think the other ones are a little bit better, so for that reason it drops down. Same thing with the Agma. C tier for me. Of the pulse rifles, I would rather use either of these, and then especially this one, which I'm also going to put A tier. I considered putting this one S tier. PvP, it absolutely slaps. I think PvE, I want to try it a little bit more and see how I like it. But personally, A tier for me, and I really, really enjoy it. So I wish the Agma was a little bit better of feeling for me personally. Like I said, I kind of have gone between the Peace of Mind and the Syncopation quite a bit, and I really enjoy them. But obviously, the raid weapons this year for the Vowed Disciple are very, very good, and I think all of them deserve some special attention. The As an exotic, the Raid exotic is a B tier. I think it's good. I think with certain builds, it matches Void 3.0. I think you can make it do some fun stuff, but it's not the best exotic release this season, and for that reason, it's dropped down a little bit. As a pulse rifle, it's very good. I would definitely recommend trying to get your hands on this bad boy, but overall, it's just not as good as others that I've messed around with. Next up, we get to the hand cannons, and this is going to be a little bit controversial because I really don't care for any of the hand cannons that I've messed around with so far, personally. Frontier's Cry, it's got the perk from Iron Banner now. It's a C tier for me, though. It's a 180. I like 180s personally. I use them quite a bit, but ultimately, it's just not as good as some of the other 180s that I've used, and there's just so many other weapons right now that I prefer, and so for that reason it drops down quite a bit for me personally, but that's just my opinion. Crisis Averted, I don't like this gun at all. I'm going to drop it C tier as well. I actually like the Frontier's Cry better, but I've had so many of these drop. I've got really good rolls for it, and I just wish I liked it better. Now, the Cantata, I'm going to put that at B tier. I think it's fine. I think if you like hand cannons, this is the one to be looking for this season. It's solid. I do enjoy using it a little bit when I'm using hand cannons, but overall, I'm just not feeling hand cannons this season at all. And that might just be a personal opinion, but I just don't. I don't know. I don't know why. I just can't get with them. Now we start to get into some really, really good stuff. So all of the SMGs this season are good. I'm going to tell you right now. Osteo, I think, is A tier, potentially S tier, especially for Ad Clear. It's really good. Funnel Web, I think, is S tier, especially with the Void builds this season. It goes hand in hand with them. Absolutely tremendous. Forensic Nightmare is a solid one. I drop it down to B just because the other SMGs this season are just really good. And then the Raid SMG, I think, submission is tremendous and probably verging on S tier as well. I don't like to put too much in S tier personally, just because I feel like there's a lot that I don't want S tier to be overwhelming. S and D tier are going to be the exceptions rather than the rule for the most part when I'm doing these. So that's why I drop it down a little bit. Now we start to get to a little bit of questions. I'm a big sidearm guy. I do enjoy using them quite often. However, I did not care for empirical evidence whatsoever. I also did not care for the redback at all. And it's annoying to me personally because I do love them so much. I wish they were better. Neither one of them has really lit me up this season and made me want to use them. I can't explain it. And for that reason, it drops down a little bit for me. I wish the sidearms were better. I used Peace Bond a lot last season. I've used it for several seasons, actually, especially in PvP. But these ones don't do it for me at all, and for that reason, they get down. There's really just no place for them in the meta right now, and that's highly unfortunate for me personally. Next, we got the Fell Terradiddle, which I like the name of, but don't care for this one as much. It's helped by bows being in a good spot, especially in PvE. So maybe a B tier for that. Under Your Skin is much better, in my personal opinion, and it's craftable. I like Under Your Skin a lot. I like bows in general. The hard part for me is that exotic bows are so good when with Tikus or La Monarch, depending on the activity, or Trinity Ghoul as well. So it's hard to use your non-exotic bows very often, but they do have some very good perks, especially with adaptive munitions now. You can break shields all the time, which is handy, especially in something like match game. So because of that, I'm gonna boost it up there a little bit, but otherwise, like I said, the bows, they're in a weird place right now, so that's why I'm not gonna say any of them are S tier. Now we get into the shotguns. Now this is first shotgun is one that I've actually enjoyed. I don't run shotgun often, especially in PvP, but the ritual shotgun is actually really good, and I like it a lot. Now, again, it's one of those things where I know not everyone's going to agree with me on this because I use shotguns less than the average person probably, especially in PvP. But Reckless Endangerment is very good. Fortissimo is not. It's fine. It's whatever. The Ragnhild also not great. I don't know. Shotguns in PvE I wish were better, to be honest. I wish there was a place for them. I know there's some builds out there with the 1-2 punch and stuff that can be very good, but these shotguns don't do it for me. And Reckless Endangerment is the saving grace for shotguns this season, personally, and that's just my opinion on the matter. Now we get to the fusion rifles. Likely Suspect is fine. These fusions are fine. Nothing too crazy. I wish they matched up, or at least were close to main ingredient, which is rampant right now in PvP. But Snorri and Likely Suspect are fine fusion rifles. You can get some decent rolls on them, especially with like Compulsive Reloader and I forget the other name of the perk. My apologies for that. But you can get some nice synergy with those fusion rifles in PvE. Not the best, not the worst. Reservoir Burst, that's the one that I was thinking of. So you can get some solid rolls. They're both solid, not spectacular. I actually might drop the Snoring down a little bit. I think Likely Suspect is better, again, craftable. So now here's one that might cause some controversy. I think Deliverance is S tier, and I have several reasons for that. First, fusion rifle that's a legendary that can go in your kinetic slot. Absolutely huge. Stasis can get chill clip, which is tremendous on it. And it's just very, very good and really opens up a lot of opportunities for build diversity with your energy slot being used on a primary. I love this weapon. I use it all the time. I've used it in the raid. I've used it in endgame content. Deliverance is S tier for me. And honestly, I won't hear otherwise, to be honest. I think it's tremendous. I think it's very, very good. And I don't know why people would disagree, to be honest. So, all right, the Fugu, I think is D tier. I don't like it at all. I've tried it a bit. The Thoughtless is much better. I would go with the Thoughtless all day personally if I were, and then the Father Sins is also solid. Again, you can farm rolls for that. And then we're gonna have Silicon Aroma coming back, and I think this is gonna be, if I remember correctly, I remember using it quite a bit, and judging by the perks that we've seen, it's gonna be an A tier. Unfortunately, there are no trace rifles this season, which is kind of annoying. I really like using trace rifles, but overall, I wish they were there. Now we get into the Glaive. Now I would say the Enigma is S tier, and the only reason I say that, Void works. It's so much fun to use. It was your first real craftable weapon. You can level it up, get a bunch of cool perks on it. You can get Enhanced Impulse Amplifier, which I think is really good and changes the weapon completely. And overall, I've really enjoyed that. The Lubrae's Ruin, I think, is solid A tier. It's good. I think it doesn't match this season quite as well because of all the Void buffs and Void 3.0. However, I think once we have a solar season, this is going to be tremendous. And then we get to the exotic glaives, and I hate to break it to everybody, but these are not worth it, and it is very, very frustrating. I wish they were better. I looked at them when they first were announced. They sounded so awesome. All their perks sounded good, but just proccing them is just so frustrating. You don't get enough of a bonus for using their exotic perks. It's just not it for me, and it's it's very annoying for me personally because I was so hyped for these. However, I do think eventually they'll get buffed, and I do think once we see like Solar and Arc 3.0 that these will get a little bit more love in, but for now, it's just not great. Recurrent Impact. Now, this is one that may surprise a lot of people because machine guns aren't a great place, but I think this is a A tier, especially when you get headstone on it. I think for stasis builds, it's very good and quite underrated at this point for me personally. Now, I know not everyone's going to agree. Not everyone loves using machine LMGs. I wish they were better, but for me, I really dig it. Then we get the Grand Overture. I think this is unfortunately a C tier. It's not the best. It's fun to use. It's got its purpose, but the volley doesn't do enough damage in my opinion. And even with the catalyst, I haven't noticed it's worked. I think it's actually bugged right now because when I was using it with the catalyst, it was only firing parts of the volley and then parts of the volley and then parts of the volley, and then eventually it would fire it all over time, but it was just kind of clipping, which was weird. So that might be a bug, and maybe once that's fixed, or if I stop having that issue, then it'll feel better. I wanted to like this a lot better. I do love LMGs, but for me, as far as if I'm looking at the various exotics and where I would rank them, that's where it would go for me. So Cataclysm, this thing is A tier. Definitely recommend going after this if you're going. All the raid weapons are very, very good. So if you can go in the raid and chase them, do so. Get that first chest by yourself if you can. It is awesome. I would highly recommend trying to get these weapons because they are great. The perk from the raid is very fun, and so that I think it's good. Now we've got the red herring, and I think this is a C tier. It's my least favorite rocket of the two. I don't use it at all, and then the Palmyra bee is solid. It goes well with stasis builds and stuff like that. But again, nothing to write home about, nothing too crazy. Now we get to a weapon that I think immediately vaulted up into not there, but S tier. Now, I know this is going to be early for me judging it, but it's one of my favorite heavy weapons, probably my favorite heavy weapon of the season, and I just love it. I think it's very, very good. The frame, you do spin to win. It's void, so it syncs perfectly with the void 3.0. It can get some roles that I think are going to be underrated with it, like Wellspring, and you can get like ability-based builds will benefit from it so greatly because you can get so many kills and then spam grenades. It's awesome. Now we've gotten into the grenade launcher Tarnation. I think Tarnation is a C, honestly. This is a good season for grenade launchers, but overall, none of them, like the Tarnation and the Typhon, I don't think heavy grenade launchers are in a place that they're going to have a lot of success, and for that reason, it ranks a little bit lower. Then we've got Parasite. I'm going to go to that one next because it's the next heavy one. I think it's a B. Solid. It can do heavy damage. It's a fun weapon, even if it's not going to be the best. Now, going from there, we've got some special grenade launchers that I very much enjoy. I think this season has been a blast for the special grenade launchers, and I think they can be very, very good. But let's see, we've got explosive personality, and then that's going to be a B tier. We've got the raid one, which is going to be A tier. They have forbearance. The waveframe grenade launchers are just they're in a really great spot right now, and I really enjoy them. So the fact that we got multiple of them is kind of crazy. It's helped out by the fact that forbearance and explosive personality are both arc and solar, and so like they don't match void 3.0, but they kind of add to like void builds, and I think once we get solar and arc 3.0, those are going to be tremendous. However, we're coming down to my favorite exotic of the entire season, and that is going to be Dead Messenger. This thing is great. You, especially if you're running a stasis build or other build that requires you to use a certain type of um, light type. Like if you're running stasis, if you're running your Void 3.0, you can run it with any build, and it's really tremendous. The distance it gets on its wave is fantastic. I think with the catalyst, it's just probably the best weapon overall this season. Versatile, good, solid damage, add clear. You can change your energy type. It's fantastic. I'm gonna put this all the way over here. This is the list that I'm going with. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. I know this one was a little bit longer, but I wanted to dive into all of these, give a little bit of explanation. I hope you enjoyed the video. My name is JoPaWrites. Catch you all later.